Hello, and welcome to another scene set in the Desert of the Dark Crusade Season 2. This evening we have the elegant yet deathly nun of the local toreador. Incomparable to all in the debts that she owes others. And she has arranged a meeting with her mentor, considering the events that have unfolded have not been pleasant. Oh no. Vlasombra moving in to take what they are due, exploiting the favors they already have over her. On all of this, on the eve of many more troubles that are soon to befall Odessa, some of which are already beginning to rear their ugly head, does not spell well for the young Ancilla. But she still has one friend, one ally, someone she can fall back on, as always, her fellow compatriots from Portugal. Padre Jose Perez, of which Sister Iohanna, or should I say Freira Iohanna de Guimarães. Guimarães, not Guimarães. No,
oh,
Freya
no.
Iohanna de Gummibels.
Oh no.
Guimarães has decided once again to meet with her good mentor. Do you meet him at your haven, at his?
I believe his haven is north of the river, yes?
Let me just double check for you. I believe so.
She will invite him to hers, and if he refuses for reasons, which I'm sure he is well aware of.
Oh yes, he's still disappointed.
Mm-hmm. And if he refuses, she will begin tonight with a struggle.
Considering that he is aware of what has befallen you, yeah, you're not really in a position to be asking of anything right now.
Oh, she knows.
So he's gonna say you're gonna come to me.
Okay, then we're doing this for the first time. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. I'm actually gonna look up the floor. Oh dear. I'll choose for
It's
you.
on page 428.
Oh, you've already. Oh, that's last Saturday. Okay. Page 428. Oh. Okay.
So she is going to prepare by attending in a carriage that can be closed. I'm presuming she has some, because she has traveled here over as few rivers as possible, but
So
she
you're not
came to a
accustomed to passing over rivers, are you?
I mean, she came here from Portugal, and there are definitely several rivers in the way. So she had to have some sort of conveyance that could withstand the possibility of a frenzy. So she sleeps each night in a chest designed for carrying rugs. Specifically because travel was something that she did for a very long time to get here. And she'll bring it with her, have it carried into the carriage. And will have one of her ghouls attend upon her. And she's going to cross the river within the chest, with him sitting on top of it.
Please roll me courage difficulty 8, please.
Yes. She also brings a change of clothes in case she arrives in some disarray. It's entirely possible.
Okay, so if you fail this, because you are being forcibly taken across, normally if you would try to approach it yourself, you would simply stop. So I will say, yes, if you fail, I will count this as a botch.
Okay.
You'll also take 1 health level of unsinkable bashing damage.
Okay. I figured the health level was going to happen regardless, because
yes, you have to cross the river, so you will have to take damage at some point. If you cross the river, you'll take damage. You're not actually in the lake or in a river, sorry, so you're not taking aggravated damage. You're still taking bashing damage there.
Okay. Here we go, Christopher. Let's cross our fingers.
Okay, you succeed.
Hey!
You are... well, the guy sitting on top of a chest notices that the chest shakes violently. But you don't fall into the thrall of your own fear. You have a bit of a maybe a minor panic attack as you cross, particularly as you see wounds begin to open on your body as you cross. But you're able to. Oh damn! Would have been diff 9 roll as well because your initiative road for like you rolled 10s. You are able to push back the beast temporarily. What is a few seconds feels like an hour. But you're able to cross. You do notice several minor cuts on your body. They don't impede you, but they're unpleasant to look at.
Fortunately, she is fairly well covered, except for her face.
You can definitely feel it, like it's, the wound opens up, it's painful. You know what you think about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once she's over the river, she just stays curled up for some time before she instructs the ghoul on top, probably Padre Zhao, to let her out, to get off and get out of the way. And then
he will let you out and get the hell out of your way.
I mean, she's never ever been anything but, especially to this man, extremely respectful.
No, but you are still canine. And the chest shook, and there was a reason you put yourself in the chest to begin with. So he's a little bit concerned, mainly for your well-being, not really for his, but he is, obviously concerned. Did you lose your mind, sister? No? Okay. um,
He's
so
probably
he's,
seen her lose her shit before in the course of the journey.
almost certainly. In fact, he's probably been a victim of it at one point.
Oh, poor Padre Joe. Sorry, buddy.
Such is the life of a ghoul.
Mm-hmm.
However, he's very respectful to you. He's very polite. Very courteous. He's a loving gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
He treats you with much praise and much veneration, kind of like how you would treat a king, or a queen. It's it's not a romantic love. It's very much a veneration towards one's lord. For you are the most noble, the most magnificent, the most elegant, the most gracious, the most generous, the most kind, the most beautiful.
Naturally.
And he treats you with that level of graciousness and reverence.
Mm-hmm.
But upon being told to remain at his side or leave, get out of his way effectively, he will do so absolutely. And you take your first steps towards Padre's Haven. The good Padre.
Just going to wipe her face with a clean cloth in case there are any cuts on her face. Rearrange herself so that she is not showing any signs of distress or the effort that it took her to even be dragged across in a chest. And then she will approach, presumably knowing the protocol involved.
Yeah, you've been in this place before. You know the mosque. And you have time to prepare yourself. Your mentor knows of your condition. He's not expecting you to be early. He's expecting you to arrive, but he's not expecting you to arrive on time. How to pleasant surprise then that you should. But you have time to dust yourself off and clean yourself up. And you're able to re-enter once again into this mosque, into the prayer room which you have met him in before.
So she heads for that room, and if he is there, she goes to him and kneels before him to kiss his hands, as you would with a priest of higher station. If he's not there, she moves to the edge of the room where her shadow can cavort in the shadows without being noticeable if someone were to peer in.
Yeah, do you want to, how do you enter? Because you're entering a religious household with an animate shadow. So do you want to roll stealth, or do you want to use your social abilities to come across as harmless, perhaps even a discipline, if you want?
How much of a difficulty is there? How have they made arrangements?
So arrangements have been made to an extent, like your presence is expected. Your mentor knows of your condition, but he can't reconstruct the building for your convenience.
Sure, absolutely.
And there are still going to be people around.
Okay.
It's a building still in use to an extent. It's night. It's not packed. It's sparse, and obviously people have been encouraged to leave this particular house of worship. But there are people who are still here. There are people who still live here. Yeah, if you just want to make me either probably a dex stealth roll, a difficulty 5, or you can make me a probably charisma subterfuge to come across as harmless, or you can use level 1 presence to come across as harmless, whatever you prefer.
Trying to decide which one is going to be the least disastrous when I botch.
Well, one will be considered breaking and entering. The other one will have you witch hunted, and the other one's a discipline that is, well, if that backfires, that's going to be pretty funny.
Okay. Man. Yeah, she's not going to risk the discipline.
Okay.
She's going to try and charisma subterfuge her way through
Okay.
sticking to the back.
Because these are not all of them are going to be holy men and women. So diff 7. It is a higher diff because they are steeped in faith and superstitions in general. They're very aware of this sort of thing in a sense, as aware as a mortal can be for a normal mortal. Purged to heretics and all that. So, yes, it will be slightly high difficulty. However, there are simple men and women who, considering your gracious behaviors, are inclined to stand up for you. And you are a holy woman yourself.
I am.
Oh dear.
And it's a fail. It's not a botch. Thank heavens.
Okay. Do you want to use your discipline? I'll say you can because it's quite aware. It's not a botch. Okay, so the simple folk, and by simple folk I mean small folk, not necessarily stupid people.
Sure.
But people not as religious, not as engaged in the theological academics and theory of Satan and his agents. Don't really seem to care about you. You're a nun. You're a bit on site, but not entirely. This is a cosmopolitan city. Religious folk do meet up from different faiths. Generally more on political matters than religious, but it does happen. They don't pay too much mind, but they're not inclined to stick up for you. They do definitely feel something perhaps a little bit off about you, or perhaps they notice your shadow and maybe they take to it poorly, or maybe your words just fail to reach them. But there's someone who's much more educated on this matter than them, and frankly, they don't have much to begin with. They're not really willing to put their lives on the line to stab you in the face, particularly since you're a woman of the cloth. However, the local, I say local priesthood, part of the local priesthood here, people you bump into, they do seem to eye your shadow very awkwardly, in a way that is noticeable and in a way that you know is not coincidental.
Sure.
It's not the first time you've seen this look. This is not the first time you've seen this this look and this sort of how to say zealous glare, not upon you, but upon your being. The sort of eyes that follow you, and the sort of pseudo stalking that takes place briefly. You may, it would be in your best interest to perhaps throw them off of a discipline.
Yep, she will do that. She's going
I'll
to
just give you that one for free because it's a logical conclusion.
Yeah. What did I spend a blood point on a second ago? Did I spend it?
Healing your wounds? Oh, no.
No, I think
Yeah,
I
you
just
spend
clicked it
blood on
wrong.
healing a permanent wound. You're at 10 blood right now.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I just already clicked it in preparation for the roll. Okay.
Yep.
Yes, just
Roll charisma
got it.
performance.
I should spend a willpower, but okay, she's going to
If yeah, I mean, you're pretty harsh right now. You're mentally very tired.
she's mentally very, very tired. She's just gonna try it. Oh, it's so bad. It's such a bad idea to do this without willpower. These dice hate me. What was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, the
Charisma
aura she's trying to
performance.
project is harmless.
Harmless, yeah. And that will be enough. These people aren't in immediate danger. They're not in combat. You can affect them with this ability just fine.
Not a botch.
With 4 successes is more than sufficient. You know, you're affecting almost 24 people. You appear as completely harmless to anyone before you. Anyone who suspects you clearly does not. You see the man that's following you kind of drifts off to his own business. He kind of slows down, stops. The kind of eyes kind of drift off of you now. Some of them stay on you, but they're more pleasant. You know, like oh hi. You know, mainly the small folk who are kind of more ethically indebted to a woman of the cloth, or even of an opposing faith such as yourself, and also the fact that you know, as a woman of the cloth, you tend to have pretty good relations with the small folk of this city. You do them great services. But you're able to make your way to your mentor unmolested from this point. Everyone else goes about their business. You get a few friendly waves.
She returns any attention with small smiles and like she acknowledges it. She enjoys attention, and when it's friendly is her favorite thing. So
Oh yeah,
she
it's quite friendly.
moves
And
as if being
even
in a
those
group.
of even the priesthood of this month, although there are not many here, probably 2 or 3 of them. One of them, their eyes drift off of you. The other one, again, are fairly pleasant. One of them is it's kind of a mixture of tolerance, but also it's good to see someone who's not trying to crusade this town. You know, sort of, it's good. Relieved. Tolerance and relief is kind of what you gather from them. They seem to deliberately not pay attention to your shadow if they witness it at all. But you soon are able to make your way to the prayer room where your mentor is known to be. You've met him here at least once before in the past.
Is he there when she arrives?
Yes, he's sitting down.
Okay. She enters and makes eye contact to make sure that she is still welcome. And then if he seems to indicate that she is, she goes and kisses his hand.
He allows you to do so.
Good evening, Padre.
Good evening, sister.
Are you well?
There is not a snort of derision, but almost like a snuff, as if you stepped on his toe.
She is
What
watching his face.
can be given these circumstances.
Does that mean you have taken further abuse? Have they harmed you?
No. My duress was most minimal due to the relationship between my clan and theirs, but I do not take kindly their words upon myself.
She's watching him intently with
He seems
honest concern.
irritated, gravely irritated.
I'm sorry that you have been so put out, that your studies have been interrupted.
I am aware that they have placed the majority of this, the blame for the majority of this debacle on yourself.
As they should.
Their works are as clear as day. But it is temporary, as any debt old is. Have a great. You understand,
Yes.
because of this debt, it limits what I can teach you, inform you, because now it is not just your property, it is theirs.
Indeed. And they have been quite forward about how they intend to use me.
It is fortunate that they placed the majority of the boon on yourself, for the great dangers that they seek to possess could be made theirs if I were to shoulder such an enormous burden.
No,
Well,
that would be
well,
entirely abhorrent. While I believe in sharing knowledge only with the worthy. And I cannot find a single one of them worthy. They are welcome to my ignorance.
I'm sure they will find a use for it. They always do. They are one of. They are perhaps one of two high clans who have any sort of positive relation with the law.
Sorry, he said positive relation with who?
With the low.
Ah, got it.
As in low clan.
Right.
I suppose a tool that is used often is a very happy tool.
Her brows raise, and she tips her head sideways. She's going to perception empathy that. Throwing shade.
Roll for shade. I think I'm not even going to roll some manipulations of the future because I think it's actually legit garbage.
One success.
Okay. He speaks of the clans as a. He speaks of the clans rather than yourself, is what you gather from it.
Got it. Okay. We shall see.
I suppose we shall.
Regardless, I would not put further strain on you.
It is a shame. Hesperos and I were hoping to reintroduce you to the Lady of Wrath. I suppose that shall have to wait. At best, the teachings you could be given right now would be grossly limited. Although, considering what Madeleine is required, I suppose only half of my teachings are now of any value to the shadows of this city. He looks disgruntled at this.
There's only one teaching that I would need from you at this time. Until I am free of the shadow of the La Sombra. That is how to steel my heart against hatred, that the beast may not overtake me while I study.
Not easy for one possessed of a lineage as yourself.
No. Has yours been easy?
It was made simpler.
You do not suffer hate.
I suffer inconveniences.
Of course.
One of which is now removed from us. Thank God.
Orsini.
Such an irritable man.
Yes.
So young, yet so possessive of what he no longer has.
And if he is not as far removed from us as the summer would have you believe, I hope you have not believed his children.
I am quite well informed as to how they treated you.
She nods.
But I would ask that you take a lesson from Orsini, for he is what you could become if you do not steel yourself against hatred. He was a man possessed of much academic intent, of much philosophical and mystical musings, yet he still fell, as every other will, because he put temporal, personal interests above those of his studies, of the higher truths he swore himself to.
Yes, Father.
One cannot pursue both and expect to succeed. It is nothing more than a half effort, half-hearted. You must immerse yourself within these truths and seek more, or not at all.
Your words are wise. Thank you. They are a balm to my heart.
He nods with understanding, like, yeah, accepting the praise in a fairly gracious fashion.
Mm-hmm. She rises to her feet and kind of fitfully. She's not usually a person given to being fitful, but she is quite low in willpower right now and moves fitfully around the room. Do you know if they have made the boon public knowledge?
It is written, although the reasons are not stated.
She nods.
Simply that it exists. Well, a pretense for the boon was given, but obviously not the full story. Too much controversy. One does not want to get into a mudslinging contest with a toreador. It will end poorly.
This is also wisdom.
I do not seek the public acclaim that they do, at least not in the same way. Princes come and go. The death stays.
Most of the dead stay. Some rise to study again.
Death is an eternal concept that we are all bound to, being what we are.
Yes.
It is from that great mystery that we might unlock the secrets of our own condition, and by extension, our own enlightenment and salvation, dependent on how one might view that.
She balls her hands into fists and twists them in the fabric of her robes.
You spend much of your time around the living.
Yes.
He says this is a plain statement, like he's just kind of off the cuff. It is necessary, but it is also a vulnerability, particularly if you wish to conquer your beast. They stir it.
Well said. They do. I shall think on that.
It would be better to view humanity as a set of assets to unlock one's potential. While they are most useful and in many cases amenable to our goals and causes. We are of death and they are of life. They are not to be a simple convenience. There is a fundamental separation. And as such, we must keep our distance. The petty extravagances of mortal culture are not compared to what we shall uncover for ourselves. What a mortal wants and needs is not what we want and need. So to immerse oneself unrepentantly in mortal society is merely a false escape. It shall not give one the spiritual fulfillment they need. Not one of this road. I know the prodigals are quite passionate about their human projects and emulations and extravagances. It would be hypocritical for me to say that there is nothing that binds us. There are similarities. We too emulate concepts in our own way. But still, how many humanists are there? More than enough.
Quite.
If the rumors are true, some have made inroads into their own salvation. An intriguing concept, though rumors they always have been and unprovable. I have no reason to believe any different in the near or far future to come.
Yes.
I fear perhaps excuses laid by their elders and their paragons to justify continuing a failing role in the world, one that is already overcrowded and oversupplied. Much like luminaries, we have no need for so many kings. It is a niche role in one's life, and one that is chosen for you, not one that you yourself choose.
Yes, Father, well said.
The fundamental difference between they and us, that while we might emulate human norms, it is not for a need to look back on who we once were, but merely a means for who we are to become. Or what, for the more ambitious.
Yes.
How do you intend to carry out your boon? Will you construct a scenario in which it will be paid? I'm sure Durad won't be pleased.
No, I'm quite certain he will not. He has dealt fairly with me, more than fairly, in the past. And I shall seek to shelter him from La Sombra.
The Ventru once dealt fairly with the Salubri, and look at where they are today.
I will repay my debts, particularly those given with an open hand.
Be cautious. These debts will most likely involve your Ventru companion.
I'm aware. I owe no debt to La Sombra. La Sombre have taken from me a debt,
Don't
and once I have paid it,
owe tax collectors.
that is well said. I had not thought of it that way.
They are simply, for all of my irritations with how they have treated you and myself, their behavior is consistent with what they believe in. So I cannot blame them too harshly. They seek recompense for a violation of their domain. And simply seek to alter the terms to their advantage with the leverage that they have. It will not last. They will profit. You simply need to survive until that point. Perhaps you can even turn this boon to your favor and turn it into a form of health insurance. Well, you wouldn't call it health insurance because insurance doesn't exist. He would say, turn it into a form of protection for yourself. A blood wound means you're an asset they are unlikely to desire to be rid of anytime soon. Unless you find yourself being particularly uncooperative or unuseful, it is doubtful they will get rid of you. Otherwise, they would have simply destroyed you.
I have been married before, Father. I don't like to be turned against myself, but I shall be gracious. They will not know.
I doubt fellow Sombra like to be turned about themselves. That is perhaps why they enforce such a harsh position on the both of us. But I suppose devil's advocacy or favoritism to one side or another is irrelevant. It is just another play in our society.
I pray God will give me your strength and your stillness. And I am grateful to have it in your person to bear witness.
I carry with me the strength and stillness of death. I would not mistake that for God's faith. The faithful belong to him. You have canine law to know that faithful in this context means those on the road of heaven.
Right. Yes.
Just because that's a pretty vague nickname for them. We
To
lie
whom do you...
within him. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We lie within God's realm, but we are not necessarily his. I could not say, for I have not met him.
I prefer to hedge my bets, Father. If God will offer me strength, I will take it. If not, I will not wait at his door for that which is not offered.
You are almost as opportunistic as your benefactors. He smirks.
I am impatient, I suppose. And yet what I pray for is patience. We shall see.
How many decades have you existed? How many
Oh,
years?
You making me math? Is he asking an actual question? I'll go math. You have it for me. 8 decades.
You have outlived several generations of mortals. Time is something we have plenty of. Patience is perhaps a canine's greatest virtue, because it is one thing we can make more use of than any other being in this world.
Quite.
Not even the dead possess a longevity. Tell me, what is the greatest thing for a person to lose?
Her brows raise. That's a tricky question. She stands quite still for a moment while she considers. The truth of their self, I suppose.
I disagree. The truth of oneself can be discovered, and if it is lost, rediscovered.
What then?
Time. Once time has been spent, it can never be recuperated, and thus never be redeemed. Strange, then, that we who possess all of the time in this world spend so little time on the truth of ourselves and our virtues.
I see. Shall I consider this predicament lost time?
Mortals lose time. We can spend it on that what we wish. So I would advise spending it on what is next most important to you. For everything else can be redeemed with time.
What do you know of Gerard's plans?
Little, he does not associate with me. So long as they do not include the destruction of my clan or followers of my road, I do not really care.
He
His
seeks to build
concerns.
a place of contemplation and prayer, of study.
I would be careful when mixing those two together. But I can see why you would be attracted to the idea.
Truly, Father.
What is his progress on this project of his?
I do not know. We've spoken of it a few times. I should like to have my fingers in it. Such a project is very much in my own interests.
Ah, I see your great dilemma then.
And yet,
should you involve yourself, it will inevitably fall due to the goals of those who you now owe a debt to. Should you not involve yourself, you will be left out, and thus will have nothing to show for yourself. An interesting bind your benefactors place you in. So that is their goal. Interesting. I suppose it would be lost on me. We are so truly unalike.
I shall find another place to build my library.
Careful of the secrets you hold. No doubt that Volosomber will attempt to take advantage of your great wealth of knowledge. And if not, as you say, they'll be very welcome to your ignorance instead.
Yes.
But perhaps it is naive of me to think they only have one plan for you.
Oh, she's gonna roll a thing?
We rolling.
She is rolling manipulation subterfuge. Because there is fury in her heart when he says that.
I'm gonna roll his dice. What was his? Wow. Okay, I'm not actually gonna roll because I don't think he'd be able to beat that.
Okay.
He probably actually has pretty good perception of empathy. He's just terrible at lying.
She looks calm as a cucumber.
Hmm.
That didn't at all make her want to go kill some Sombra.
So you owe this debt. You will pay it, but how do you intend to resolve it? A blood debt is not easily repaid. Most likely, what they will have you do will be tasks that do not pay this debt fully, merely a collection of labors that are little more than the collection of accumulation over time.
Indeed.
A situation in which you save the whole clan or serve the whole clan in a facet that risks your life. Currently, I can think of only one scenario, one that said clan would very much appreciate, but not one I think your other friends would appreciate.
Do you mean the destruction of Gerard?
I am aware he is disliked by the clan as a whole.
Yes.
He has slighted them greatly in the past. This is not my concern, however. It is his conflict and his failings that have brought the shadows to bear on him. I shall simply witness the trajectory of his spirit as it leaves him. I suppose I should congratulate him. It is a remarkable innovation to limit one's time within an immortal body.
To answer your question, I intend to be patient.
Perhaps that is something you can learn from your wound then.
They have taken from me what was not owed. As you say, it is a tax. It could have been taken for any reason. They have simply chosen this time. I shall consider it the price of remaining within Odessa. And so long as it does not become too onerous, I shall pay it.
Politically, they have simply legitimized it. Of course, anyone of sufficient power could strong-arm another Canaanite into owing them a great boon. But as soon as this were to become public knowledge, such an individual would be disgraced. In some circumstances, the boon even declared invalid. It would not be the first time. I witnessed a gango threaten a venture once in such a fashion. He was lashed within the next 5 minutes.
And yet they are confident in their scheming.
Because
Orsini
they
is
have
not
framed
dead.
it within the perspective of a law broken. No, I doubt Orsini is dead. We did not kill him.
And I was invited to his domain. And they're attacked.
Such is the risk of entering one's domain.
Yes.
In theory, the prince could destroy anyone within the city because it is his domain.
My point precisely. And as his right hand, the seneschal can do likewise until he is told to stop. So I shall pay my price. And we shall see how they accrue their own debt.
Reap the knowledge that you can from the transaction. It is a commonly held, erroneous belief that boons are a one-way street.
Yes, Father. I am well aware.
But do not hold too much enmity to the Sombra in your heart. They are simply doing what they feel they must do, as we are doing what we feel we must do. We simply have goals that are on different roads and are far separated from each other. Neither one is particularly wrong, simply separate. I think the more you separate yourself from the politics of this city, the more you'll find comfort within this belief.
I shall endeavor to do so. We shall see if the Lysander will allow it. I think they will not.
I shall grant you limited access to the Lady Roth. You will meet soon with Hesperos to discuss this matter. Although what will be stated will not be the full truth. I state this because there is little point in saying to the Losambra that that is the full truth, because they will know it to be false. But you'll be granted access to the limited resources that have been offered to Madeleine in past for recompensation of the old blood boon you once hold. There is kind of like a blank stare. Anyways, sorry. In any matter, I believe, unless there is something you would wish to discuss further.
No, Father. Thank you for your wisdom. And for the reassurance that you have not been further harmed. The seneschal left me worried.
He is selectively charitable.
She nods. Yes. I'm glad to hear it. And she drops to basically a curtsy.
Mm-hmm. He would nod, like in acknowledgement, or a bow, I guess, if you're standing up.
If you have no need of me, I shall take my leave.
Good evening to you.
She stops as she is turning to leave, and looks back. I intend to find other ways to amuse myself while my previous pursuits will benefit none but the La Sombra. I should like to look into what has happened in Odessa. Disappearances of its Canaanites.
A centuries-long mystery. Interesting. Who do you intend to approach on this matter? The court has changed significantly since the city was initially founded.
I've asked a number of Canaanites about it. And they have all said only one name is having any information at all. And that is the Red Man.
There is just a silence. Just a straight silence that just permeates the entire building. As you say,
Iohanna's going to. I feel like I should roll for the incredibly,
it's just a blank stare. Just a long, long, long stare.
She watches him, looking not the least discomfited, but extremely alert.
I mean, you look around, there's nothing there. He just kind of stares at you.
No, she's watching him alertly.
Yeah,
Jan is an ever-obedient student. Whatever these events were, he has survived them.
He could also be the cause of them.
Yes, Father.
Do not invoke such a name lightly.
I see. Not lightly.
Speak of devils, and they shall appear before you.
Yes, Father.
I bid you a good evening.
Good evening, Father. She turns and stops, warring with herself.
Oh, you turn?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you said you turn and...
Oh, sorry, she turns and then stops. As she's having a little bit of a war with herself. She glances back. Perhaps I shall solve less interesting mysteries instead. She's good perception, empathy, his face.
Unless you're looking at his robes.
Oh my goodness! No! Oh no!
Wait,
Wait! Oh, it's not a bot.
no,
It's just a failure.
It's no, because you got 2 10s. You didn't do more than or equal to. You just did equal to. So unless you got a 6, it would have come up as a failure. So you get 1 success.
Okay.
Meh. Meh.
How did that count as -1 success? Did I type it
Because
wrong?
you
Oh, I
8
did.
d10
I'm an idiot.
equals 6 F1, yeah.
All right, so it's actually 2 successes because she has specialty in emotions.
All right. Caution. Yes, it's alarm and caution. Kind of. His face is blank, but you know when he does these long stares, it's like a weird mixture of exasperation and shock. So it's basically those two. You get the sense with a red man in particular, it's just a case of those two emotions are perhaps emphasized a little bit more due to the nature of your discussion. But he doesn't appear particularly fazed. His face is still a blank white stone tablet.
Fair enough.
A tabula rasa, if you were.
Good evening, Father.
Good evening.
And she is going to turn and make her cautious.
You bump into someone.
Oh no! Oh no! Your mentor in the room. Oh no! Not in front of her mentor. Drat. Now she's gonna be in trouble.
No, Drat. Yes.
Well.
Okay, so I need to go over 3 things here. Bump into this guy. He's damp. He's covered in blood. He's covered in blood. Let me perception let this roll. He also smells disgusting.
Regular diff?
Yes. Okay, 4
4
successes. Okay, yeah, the smell of blood is extremely strong. You smell faint traces of vitae in the air. You also smell the rather disgusting smell of pig slop and mud and nature, dirt, dust, grime. He is Yeah, he's a culmination of blood and all of these disgusting things put together. It is a horrible smell, to put it bluntly. Um, he looks down on you. He's staring at you.
She is going to drop him her most gracious curtsy. Probably curtsy. Well, no, she was under Majesty. She's not curtsying more deeply than she curtsied to the Seneschal because he was currently the entire focus of her existence at that moment. But it is basically the same curtsy. There's a light in her eye.
Your mentor just kind of. No, he has to react to this.
He has what?
There is a very for the first time in a while, because your mentor is very muted in how he expresses himself.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the most visually expressive you've ever seen him, ever.
Mm-hmm.
As his face crunches up in sheer just utter exhaustion, exasperation. Rubs his hands over his head. And then just sits down and then stops, just still as a statue, and just looks towards the mat that he's on.
My lord, this is not how I hoped to meet.
It's very rude to summon someone without their permission.
Have you been summoned, my lord? I did not so intend it.
He just kind of looks at you for a moment as if you're saying something that doesn't make sense to him.
If you can read my heart, you would know there is an invitation there.
I can't read.
She nods. And that is not a language in which I would be able to offer you an invitation.
He looks around.
But it is a pleasure to see you once more. Have I inconvenienced you?
Have you read anything you weren't supposed to?
No, my lord, I do not believe I have yet.
Very sheltered.
Yes. Yes, I am. I'm cautious.
Summoning people isn't very cautious.
Oh, she's going to try and hide her smile because he's right. He got her. 5 successes to not laugh. She just gives him a very solemn nod.
Well, I don't really need to roll for this character, I assume. I'm not going to.
That's fair. But her expression is solemn. She solemnly acknowledges that he is correct with a gracious nod of her head. But inside, she's like, yeah, you got me. Out of character, just so we're clear, she did not actually use the power summon.
Nope.
Okay, just making sure that I hadn't been confusing. Okay. I hold no power over you, my lord, and yet would enjoy your presence if you were to stay.
Just like kind of silently kind of looks around. Do you live here?
No. This is truly not where I would have hoped to meet you. I cannot, in any good faith, invite you to linger, however much I might wish to.
Isn't that something you pretend to have?
Faith. It comes and goes.
Just kind of bubbles his head. It's like, okay. So, motion.
She is extremely loath to take her eyes off of him, but she's going to glance back at her mentor, to whom she
Not doing anything. He's not even moving.
Okay.
He has just stopped functioning.
That's
When I say he went still, he went still. There's not even a shiver. There is. You could mistake him for an actual statue.
Okay. I have many questions that I should like to ask you, but not at the cost of your inconvenience.
I don't know what that is.
She blinks. He has caught her off guard. I see. I trust you will inform me of any apologies which I owe you. Will you tell me of your loneliness?
Which one?
She considers that without taking her eyes off of him. Whichever one seems more important. I would be a student of history.
There's kind of a silence again. There's just completely blank expression on his face, like he's staring through you into the ground.
Have you come because I summoned you?
Yes.
She nods.
You want to talk?
No, my lord, I wish to listen.
But you keep talking.
Yes. You're correct. She is going to brace herself against the silence. Her hands are folded in her robe. It doesn't bother her that he is covered in blood and gross, as long as her hands stay covered. The rest of her is completely unfazed by.
He's staring directly at your hands now.
Oh, good. She leaves him there. But she is listening intently now.
He points at your hands.
She raises a brow, asks a question with her face. Is he watching her or is he staring at her hands?
No, he just kind of points to her hands. Your hands begin to they're clothed, right?
Yes, she's wearing gloves.
Yeah, you feel blood begin to pour out your wrists.
Oh. Okay. Is it painful or do I just feel the moisture?
You feel the moisture. It's not very painful. It's odd. It's an odd sensation.
And is it out of the places where her permanent wound is?
Yeah.
Or is it okay?
Peter was
watching.
a man.
What did he say?
Peter was a man.
Yes. She's going to carefully unclench her hands. And move them from her skirts just enough to look.
Oh yeah. Big, throbbing, nasty permanent wound right there.
Okay.
He simply says, I don't know why he keeps choosing men. It's very strange.
Did he say why she keeps choosing men?
No, why he keeps choosing men, as if like vague reference to he.
Sure.
Then I don't know why I give you that, because it doesn't make any sense. We don't have saints.
Nor do I know.
Hmm. Hmm.
It comes and goes as my faith does. She's going to ball her hands back into fists again. Painfully. Unless the wound is completely an illusion. Holes in your
No,
hands are excruciating.
it is. It was an odd sensation, but now that the effect is kind of completed, it is. For record, you're at wounded health level again.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's half-hearted.
Did he say half-hearted?
Hmm. So you should listen to that statue over there more. He points towards your mentor.
I shall.
Or not.
There's great wisdom in statues.
I'm not a statue.
No, you are certainly not.
Why am I here? He looks around again. Very spontaneous, jarring movement.
Will you tell me of Odessa? Why there are no Canaanites? Why there were none?
There are some. He points at you.
Yes. And when there were not? I seek to understand that time.
Just because they weren't there. He points to where you're standing as if that reveals everything.
She's watching him so closely, trying to parse that out. Did they go? Or were they simply not?
I don't understand. There's only one answer to that question. If you already
What is
know,
the
why
answer?
ask? Or they're not rope.
Ooh, what did he say?
They're not rope.
They're not robe?
Do you have enigmas?
I do.
Roll it. Roll it.
Rolling it. Just enigmas or some mental stat?
Intelligence enigmas. You can spend a willpower on this if you want. Difficulty is going to be. It's the red man. It's probably going to be pretty high. I'm going to say. Actually, no, it's clearly identifiable. I'll say 7.
Okay. I will spend a willpower.
Okay. You're on 3 willpower now?
Nope, down to 2. Oh my goodness, it's a good thing I did.
Okay, he doesn't make sense. You can still think about it though. You can still get the answer of that roll.
Oh, it's a good thing I spent willpower. I'm so glad I didn't just double botch on the red man.
Okay, that would have been funny. We would no longer be playing a vampire. We'd now be playing Call of Cthulhu.
Oh God. Oh goodness.
So yes, you have difficulty understanding what he's saying. But again, you can still understand what he's saying without a roll. You can still obtain the answer through logic.
Is the word that he used robe?
Rope.
R-O-P-E?
Yep.
Will you say what his sentence was again?
I don't understand. There's only one answer to that question. I think he said, "What is it?" And he said, "Well, they're not a rope." I believe a prior statement was, "Have they left, or were they simply not?"
Was he making a pun? Did I just get punned by the red man? I hope you're ashamed of yourself.
I regret nothing.
You are a terrible person. You are a terrible person. Oh no, I'm going to take another level of aggravated damage as a player. Oh my goodness. Iohanna's eyes widen and she's going to... Oh, she's going to start to laugh. No, she's going to try and not laugh. She's going to try and not laugh out loud.
The defining difference of Iohanna and Emma is that one likes puns and the other really does not.
She has only one success. Like her eyes light up. She didn't botch. But her eyes light up and her face lights up. And if it weren't for the fact that her hands are literally torn and bleeding, she might touch him. But instead they just kind of wrap themselves tighter in her habit. I see.
You know a lot about ghosts, right?
A very little.
You have no real thought you don't know anything about ghosts.
She sees them sometimes.
They're spooky.
Yes.
That's literally it.
She's not lying, but she sees them sometimes.
And they kind of exist away from you. But that's not really enough for a lore dot. It's like you have extremely scant details.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll meet
Not
one.
enough. I see. Should I be afraid?
I thought you weren't scared of dying.
I'm not.
Then why should you be afraid?
I do not know enough about ghosts to prepare my fear. There are worse things than dying.
Worse things than ghosts.
Oh, yes, my lord.
Those who make them.
Are worse?
Is not the one who makes the bad thing the worst?
I have seen great and powerful men felled by small things which were crushed by the act. It's difficult to say which was worse. Have you ever made a ghost? Which is actually an interesting... Sorry, go ahead.
He didn't answer the question.
Okay. She has dark sight,
Yes.
and she is going to actually glance around the room.
Okay, make me a perception awareness roll.
Okay.
Keep in mind you have aura perception. You can see ghosts of that. Which is much more reliable, I might add.
Oh, yes. I'm going to do that. She's going to activate her aspects and do that. Let's see.
Because dark sight is more coincidental, or perception is, you're looking for ghosts, you're going to see ghosts of it. As long as it succeeded on the roll.
Fair enough. Perception, empathy. Is it 6? Diff 6? It's 8 in the book, but
If
with
it depends on what level of so do you have Auspex 1 up?
Yes, she's activating that first.
Okay, what's your level on that?
She has 3 dots in Auspex.
Difficulty's 5 on this roll.
Okay. 4 successes.
Okay. Yeah. You can see ghosts in the room. Not many. 2, 3.
They seem to be congregating around him.
They're congregating around your mentor and they look fucking terrified.
Oh, okay. Terrified, like they're. Can I perception empathy ghosts?
You don't need to. They look terrified. Or perception gives you literally tells you what people's emotional state is depending on your successes. You have 4, so you can tell that they're terrified.
Of the red man or of the mentor?
Of a red man.
Okay.
They're carrying from him.
Okay.
The red man kind of vaguely stares in your direction, tilts his head.
She's going to nod slowly. Have not spoken with ghosts before.
You don't make many friends with dead people anyway.
Most of my friends are a little dead.
He doesn't really respond to that.
She glances away to avoid laughing at her own joke. Can the ghosts tell me about the city? About Odessa when the Canaanites were not here?
No, we're all dead.
Who could tell me?
One moment.
Does he say that or you?
I say that out of character.
Okay. If he's saying that, it's strangely terrifying to be told one moment by the red man. Of all the things he said tonight, it turns out that one moment is the scariest thing the red man can say to you.
He does.
He does what?
One moment.
No. No. Iohanna waits patiently in sudden terror.
He lifts you up
Oh,
and then wrings you out to dry as if you were a wet flannel.
what does that mean?
He literally squeezes your wrists. And Vitae pulls out of it, and he just continues drenching himself in your Vitae for about 30 seconds. It is also incredibly painful.
Okay. Can I roll not to make any sounds?
Yeah, please roll me willpower, actually.
Okay. Permanent or temporary?
Permanent.
Okay. 2 or 3 successes, depending on difficulty.
3 successes, you're fine. It is excruciating, but you do not scream. The ground is just dripping in more and more blood. When you see both of some like tap the arteries of like both your wrists, almost like if you were pressing a button.
Mm-hmm.
And he puts you down. You notice there's actually quite a lot of Vita on your own body at this point. You're not as drenched as him. You actually feel a little bit damp. You also lose half your blood pool.
Okay. She doesn't, when he sets her down, she doesn't back away, but she clutches her wrists against herself, like against her chest, avoiding the white part of her habit. Out of habit. And steels herself to listen.
You get put down. You feel very damp. You feel very Like there's blood all over you, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of look down at yourself. Iohanna begins to walk out of the room.
Oh dear. Covered in blood.
There is no one in the hallways. There is no one on the streets. It's the dead of night. It's a new moon. The weather is very drizzly. It's raining lightly. This makes you feel very uncomfortable for some reason. Don't like it. Don't like the rain. Keeps the blood off. You continue walking down the streets. Again, it's empty. The only thing you can smell is the ash in the air, the dust. As you walk further, it begins to feel quite hot. The weather feels quite humid. You could almost argue it's almost burning. It's almost boiling. As you round a corner, you begin to see trails and trails and trails of vitae. Puddles, smears across the wall, and it's boiling heat as it still rains. Normally you'd feel compelled to feed off of such high quality blood. Vitae is incredibly rich. Or maybe just take a dip, but this time you feel uncomfortable. Something's off. You continue walking down. There's a small junction in the alley, kind of leads off into a second alley, basically, a bunch of interconnected back streets, effectively. As you walk further down, these puddles begin to form a small, shallow riverway, almost as if it's kind of like it's like it's like water flowing into a sewage drain. It doesn't cover more than your feet. This rain begins to pick up a little bit more. It's hotter. Begins to smell a bit nicer. Smells tinny, metallic. You can feel it on the wind. You begin to hear a sort of crunching sound, like flesh against bone. And you slowly round this corner. And what you're witness to is, make me a permanent willpower check.
Okay.
You may spend willpower on this roll. If you fail this roll, there will be long-term consequences. I'm warning you right now.
Okay. I will spend willpower on this roll. Johanna's going to leave tonight with nothing left. 2 successes with the one I spent.
It is not difficulty 6, but you spent the
Oh.
willpower, so you succeed. So, with that, we shall end the scene there as Iohanna enters Fear Frenzy,
Oh shit.
the equivalent of a botched Fear Frenzy. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching, and we'll see you next time.